Here we have video on solving application problems, which utilizes a linear equation with one variable. All right, as you can see, these are all word problems. Okay, let's begin. Number one, I'll let you read the problem on your own. I don't need to read that for you. And what you realize is that you do need to translate this. All right, so let's go. So 4 is added to 3 times that number. I'm going to use a variable x. I'm going to use variable x to represent this number. 3 times that. So this is going to be 3x. And finally, 4 is added to that. So it's going to look like 4 is added to 3 times a number. The result, that means that is equal to 7 more than 2 times the same number. So 7 more than 2 times the number. Find the number. Right, and which means solve the equation. Okay, so we've seen this type of equation before. I'm going to move the 2x over, 4 over, so I'll have negative 2x plus 3x is equal to 7 minus 4. And that should give us nice x is equal to 3. All right, and let's just do a quick check. Is it correct that when a number given the problem is equal to 3, will that satisfy this? So 4 plus 3 times a number, which is 3, and is that equal to question mark 7 more than 2 times that number? Well, let's see. Let's go one at a time. So this left hand side is equal to 4 plus 9, which is equal to 13. Does that equal to what we have? 7 plus 6, that's equal to 13, and that checks out. So x equal to 3 is indeed the solution for this problem. Okay, number 2. All right, you can read that on your own. Okay, it's dealing with wins and losses for a baseball team. All right. And one thing you do need to be careful is this phrase right here. The team won 13 more than 3 times as many games as they lost. Okay, hope you realize that this means they won more games than they lost, right? By how much? Well, there's a relationship. 13 more than 3 times the loss. All right. Okay, I'm going to use 2 variables here. I'm going to use W for number of wins the team had, and L for number of losses. All right, we do need to clearly define what the variables are. Okay, and one thing is that, well, there were 125 games in all. So W, the number of wins plus number of loss, equal to 125 total games. And yes, you do have to know that in baseball there are no ties. Okay? Either you win or lose. Okay, and then now comes the main body, which is they won 13 more than 3 times loss. Okay, so that's going to be translated as W, number of wins, is equal to 13 more than 3 times the loss. All right, so we have these 2 equations that we do need to solve, and what I'm going to use is what is called substitution. Since that is W, I'm going to replace the W of the first equation by that expression, and what that turns out is equation like this: 13 plus 3L, that's my W, plus L, the number of losses, should equal to 125. I don't really need a parentheses right there, but I want to emphasize that what's in the parentheses is indeed the W. Right? Okay, so let's go ahead and solve that equation. That comes out to 13 plus 3L plus L is 4L is equal to 125. All right, and solving this, we subtract 13. And that should leave us 4L is equal to 125. 12. And to solve for L, we divide by 4. Turns out L is equal to 28. 112 divided by 4 is 28. All right. So that is the number of losses. But it's also asking how many wins. All right. So let me just kind of separate these. We just found out that L is equal to 28. And since W is 13 plus 3L, all we have to do is replace L by 28. And what we'll have is 13 plus 84, which gives us 97. Okay, so finally, the team had 97 wins and 28 losses. Now, in order for you to check, do those two numbers agree with the statement 13 more, they won 13 more than 3 times as many games? Okay, so if you multiply 28 by 3 and add 13, you should get 97. All right, so that's problem number 2. Okay, problem number 3. Okay, I'll let you read that on your own. Here we're dealing with antibiotic and tranquilizer prescription. And the key part here is this phrase right here, 5/3 as many prescriptions for antibiotics as tranquilizers. That can be kind of confusing. All right. Okay, before we begin, let's go ahead and identify variables. I'm going to use letter A for number of antibiotic prescription, and T for number of tranquilizer prescription. All right. And when you're writing T, I usually try to avoid variable T because sometimes people will write that as this, and then that looks like plus. And math is highly symbolic. If you write like TE as a plus, that will confuse you. So try to avoid using that way. So try to write T with a little tail at the end. All right. Okay. So also she had a 64 total prescriptions. So similar to the previous example with baseball, what we'll have is A plus T should equal to 64 total prescription. All right, that's our first equation. And the second one is really the main body, the 5/3 as many prescriptions for antibiotics as tranquilizer. Okay, that, let me just go down here, can be translated as either A is equal to 5/3 T, or some people may think is T is equal to 5/3 A. All right, it's one of these two. Okay, what you do need to realize is, what you need to determine is, which was prescribed more, antibiotic or tranquilizer. Okay, and by reading this, it is the antibiotic that was prescribed more than tranquilizer. Okay, and one of the key idea here is that the number 5/3, this is greater than 1. If that was number less than 1, say like 1/3 or 2/3, then more tranquilizers were prescribed than antibiotic. Okay, all right, so the correct one is this, not this. All right. Okay, so we have our second equation of A is equal to 5/3 T, and I'm going to use a similar technique as previous example where I'm going to replace the A of the first equation by 5/3 T. So we end up with this equation. course, that simple t is just 3 over 3. Okay. And that should give us 8/3 t is equal to 64. And the quickest way to solve this is by multiplying by reciprocal. Okay. And that should give us t is equal to 8 times 3 or 24. So total of 24 tranquilizers were prescribed. Then A is 5/3 of that. Can cancel, so A is equal to 40. All right, so we found that 24 tranquilizers were prescribed and 40 antibiotics were prescribed. And we can verify 24 plus 40 is equal indeed 64 total prescription, and 40 is 5/3 of 24. So our final answer is 40 antibiotic and 24 tranquilizers were prescribed. All right. Okay, that's for number 3. And finally, the last one, number 4. Okay, can read that on your own. Consecutive odd integers. All right, we do need to translate this. So if x is our first odd integer, then the next integer is 2 more than x. So x plus 2 is our second order larger odd integer. All right. And kind of peculiar thing is, even if you were talking about even integer, the expression would still look the same, x and x plus 2. All right. And the reason for this plus 2 is the fact that integers or consecutive integers are separated by the value of 2. Okay, like 3 and 5, 29 and 31, and so forth. Same thing goes for the even, like 2 and 4, 28 and 30. All right, let's go ahead and now translate this. It says 70 more than the lesser. Lesser is the x. So 70 more than the lesser is equal to 5 times the greater. Greater is x plus 2. You got to have the parentheses. Okay, and solve this equation. So 70 plus x is equal to 5x plus 10. And let's transfer x to this side, 10 to this side. And I have 70 minus 10 is equal to 5x minus x. That gives us 60 is equal to 4x. Divide by 4. And I have x is equal to 60 divided by 4 is 15. And x plus 2, the next consecutive integer, is 17. All right, so 15 and 17 are the two consecutive odd integers. All right, that's it for this